This from CBS Sports. Top 10 interior offensive linemen in the NFL. Number 1, they go Zach Martin from Dallas. Number 2, Jason Kelce from the Eagles. Number 3, Joel Bitonio. First-team All-Pro each of the last 2 years. Bitonio has allowed just 2.7% pressure rate over that stretch, with just 3 sacks allowed in 1,221 pass blocking snaps. 3 sacks in over 1,220 pass blocking snaps. That's how good Joel Bitonio's been. Other names under consideration: Wyatt Teller. So Browns have the third and a best of the not mentioned. And when you start thinking about offensive line, if you keep pressure out of the middle, that's huge for a quarterback.
It is, and those guys are getting paid like it, right? They both signed those big extensions during the 2021 season. Bitonio, he might be too low on that list, and I'm not an interior offensive line expert, but I know I talked to Joe Thomas, and he says Bitonio's the best guard in the league. Even with Martin, he thinks he's better. Kelsey's fantastic. He's getting up there. Whatever. It's a great honor for both those guys, or all three of those guys. But Bitonio's a big-time player, has been for a long time. We always talk about the guys who touch the ball or around the ball, Myles Garrett, those kind of things. But, you can make an argument the best player on this team is, Bitonio deserves to be mentioned. Whether it's Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett or Joe Bitonio, I think for the last few years, it's come down to those 3 guys who've consistently been the best 3 guys on this team. So, Bitonio deserves everything, every honor he gets, every recognition he gets. And you're right, Dave. We talked about, and when I was mentioning all the elite positions, I did not mention those guys. And the offensive line is a big part of this. I think there's questions at the tackle spots, just given Conklin's injury history, given Jed Will's inconsistency. But, the Browns feel good about those 3 guys in the middle.
And, as we're talking about that, and you mentioned he's been good for so long, couple more years at the top of the league, and he might be right next to Joe Thomas with one of those gold jackets they give Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when they extended Bitonio in 2021, Andrew Berry said that in the press release, and it kind of caught me like, all right, now there's the discussion. And then I talked to Joe Thomas about him, and he mentioned it too. So, yeah, it's been, he was drafted in that 2014 draft to Johnny Manziel. So, this is a decade, and he's played at a really high level. He missed that second season. He had injuries. Since then, he's been automatic, right? Hasn't missed a snap in a long time. Regular season, he missed that playoff game with COVID. But, yeah, offensive line, it's tough. But if you have the Joe Thomas kind of endorsement and you play 12, 14 years and you make a bunch of All-Pros and Pro Bowls, which he started to pile up, and maybe your team finally wins some games and you get some of the January and February recognition, I think there is a path for Joe Bitonio to get to camp.
Yeah, I would agree.